Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Breaking the Habit Do's and Don'ts of Competitive Programming. I'll be your competitive coding lead for this season of DSCIM chapter. In this session, we'll be first introducing you to the competitive coding world, and we'll also figure out how one should start with competitive coding, or even if you are a mediocre or somewhere in between that you have already started solving problems in various platforms and you are still stuck somewhere or have something or cannot figure out something well, then this session will surely be beneficial to you. So on the starting note, when you take up competitive programming, the first thing that pops up in your mind that why do you want to take up competitive programming, right? So I know most of the people over here are for interview preparations, but also I've come across people who want to take up competitive programming because they want to be a coding geek. Let's say a prodigy in some cross platform, or win any cross platform on site competitions such as Google Code Jam and all. Talking about competitive programming, these are basically, it can be categorized into two categories. Okay, the first one being your competitive coding itself, which is known as CC. uh, Now, talking about CC, it is actually, you can term CC as a sport, a e-sport. Like thousands of people across the globe come and participate in any cross-platform contest where you are given a problem and you are needed to solve that problem, and that problem can be from anywhere in the universe. And secondly, the competitive coding can be categorized also into your core programming, or let's say your DS algo section. Okay, now this area is a must for every engineer who is planning to start with his career in any CSIT background jobs, or want to be in the top MNCs or product based companies like any of these. So if anyone is planning to start his or her journey in competitive programming, he should be familiar with both of these cross platform practices. Now, moving on, where have you been practicing competitive coding? Now, recently I put up a poll in our DSCIM chapter, where most of the people answered that they have been practicing on HackerRank, and most of the people were from first years and second years and third years. Now, let's say you are very new to the competitive coding world and you don't even know a language yet, that from where should you start, and what language should you take up for your CSIT journey. That is, what are the languages inside that you should take up. Now, when it comes to language, it should not be I have seen many people that they blindly take up any language they feel like. They would ask their seniors that what language should I take up, and the language should be based upon what you are trying to achieve. Now, what is your objective based on the language? If I'll share my experience, then I took up Python as my first language when I came in my first years. Now, why did I take up Python? Because I was fond of the section of machine learning and deep learning and all. So I wanted to take up things of that sort. So I started doing coding on Python. I started doing machine learning and data science. You can also take up Java if you are interested in, let's say, app development or anything like that. So it is not that CPP is the only language that you should take up while taking competitive coding. But if it is your first language and you want to start your journey with competitive coding itself, then you can go with CPP. But let's say you are already a developer, an Android developer or a machine learning developer, and you have hands-on practice in any of the language like Python, Java, or let's say JavaScript. You can start coding in any of these languages. Now, I have seen people tell me that there are various time constraints which are not which are not really platform dependent, and the time limit or many a times get exceeded when it comes to Python and all. But you see, you can always improve your code to a certain level. Let's say you are preparing for your interviews, so you can always start coding in any of the languages you are familiar with, and you can always shift to C++ for some basic algorithms. Now, this was the first question that pops up in everyone's mind when they take up that which language they should choose in competitive programming. I would say if it is your first language, then you should take up CPP. But if you have already been practicing in any other language, you can take any of them. Now, what is the next step? What is the next step that you should take up when it comes to starting your competitive coding journey? Now, there are various categories of websites. These are the websites which will prepare you for your coding interview rounds. Let's say you are going to face an interview conducted by any let's say Amazon or CodeBeta or Microsoft, and you want to brush up your coding skills, and you want to clarify your data structures and algorithm section. Then you should take up any of these sites. But if you are in your first years or second years, and let's say you have already started with let's say HackerRank or HackerEarth, now these websites are not really related to competitive coding culture, because because HackerRank hosts very few real-time contests. Now, this session will be divided into two sections. Firstly, I'll be covering the brief about how to have a head start, which I am covering right now. Then I'll also be showing you how to participate in a virtual or a real-time contest on Codeforces. Coming back to the cross platforms, if you are in your first years or second years, and you have already been practicing programming in any of these platforms, let's say you are practicing in HackerRank. Now, HackerRank is a website which you should use. Let's say you just started learning any of the languages. Let's say you are just familiar with C and C++ right now, and you want to be familiar with all the syntax and want to know about the standard data structures that are out there in the world, which you should master. Then I'll say after brushing up your skills on HackerRank, you should move very quickly to any of the platforms which are of competitive culture. Let's say you start with CodeChef or Topcoder or Codeforces or AtCoder or any of these. Talking about CodeChef, I'll be logging into my ID of CodeChef. Now, this is how a CodeChef ID looks like. Okay, you are rated according to your previous performances and your current real-time performance. There is on a whole, every website uses a standard algorithm, that is ELO algorithm, which is used to rate people playing chess. The only difference is that in chess there are only two people, and on competitive coding there are thousands of people participating in a real-time contest across the globe. So this is how a CodeChef profile looks like. Now, to make you familiar with this website, you can always go in the compete section, and let's say I go in the compete section. This is the present these are the present contests, these are the future contests, one of which is Decipher, hosted by our college, which will start from 8 o'clock today and end tomorrow 8 o'clock morning. So CodeChef primarily hosts three types of contests in a month. There is one lunchtime contest. It is a short form of short style of contest where you are given, I guess, 3 hours, and you have to solve these many questions. Now, lunchtime is a style of contest where you also have subtasks in it. Like, this is the original constraint of the question, that you will be given 1 to 1,000 test cases. Let's say there are two approaches to a problem. One is a naive based brute force solution, where you only use let's say loops and if else to solve the problem. And let's say there is another method of solving the problem in a with a less time limit. Let's say you use dynamic programming in order to minimize your code compilation time. So if you are able to solve the task for where the value of n is less than equal to 2, then you are given only 30 points, 30 points plus 10 points. And if you are able to solve the full problem, that is all the test cases pass, then you get 100 points. Now this was about lunchtime. There is another form of short contest that CodeChef hosts, that is the cook-off. And there is also a long form of contest where you are given a good number of questions that you need to solve in 10 days. Now, I have seen people only use CodeChef for long challenges because they find it much more comfortable. Like, right, you get 10 days to solve one question. You get 10 days to solve these many questions. Let's say you are unable to. Now, the perks of CodeChef is basically the long challenges are introduced to you because let's say I have a problem which is related to tree. Okay, and you have never solved a question earlier which is related to tree. Now what you will do, since you are having much time in hand, you will first go and try to do research that what does a tree data structure looks like, how to implement, maybe solve 5 to 6 more problems based on trees, and then you start solving the problem that was given to you in the long challenge. Now, this works when you are just introduced to a very new problem. But when it comes to short style problems, these are the problems which you face in a real-time coding interviews, right? Like, let's say you go for a coding challenge of Amazon, or let's say you are giving a coding challenge of CodeVita hosted by TCS. Then you need to be prepared and solve the challenge within the given time constraint. You are given maximum 1.5 or 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours. You're not given a full day to solve a question, right? So you must build your temperament in such a way that you are able to solve questions in very less time. So I'd say that you should practice programming on CodeChef in both the styles, in cook-off and in and the long challenges too. Now this was about the competitive coding culture. I'll talk about the Codeforces platform in the end when I'll show you how to participate in a Codeforces contest or any other contest hosted by any other cross platform coding culture site. And also you can take up AdCoder, who are at a very beginner level. The contests hosted by AdCoder beginner level contests are very easy and very easy to tackle. Now, since many of you were already practicing on HackerRank, I'd like to show you something about HackerRank. Let me just log into my ID. Okay, so this is how a HackerRank website looks like. Recently, they made an update that they have also included that participants can get certificates based on if they solve one or two problems based on difficulties. So when you start doing HackerRank, there are multiple sections divided based on the skills that you want to take up. Now, these are divided accordingly because you should be familiar with the syntax, right? These do not, these are not coding challenges or questions that are expected for you to solve on your own. You can first learn about them. Let's say you are just starting to solve C++ problems on C++. So you will go here and sort your problems with easy. Once you solve the maximum number of problems that are rated easy, then you go to medium and maybe even go to hard. So there are very few problems when it comes to every language on HackerRank. And as soon as you complete with a HackerRank, you should straight away move to any of these coding sites as I mentioned. Now, now coming to your interview preparations, right? I have seen people who have told me that they do not enjoy competitive culture much. So from the start, let's say in their first years or in second years, they directly move to platforms like LeetCode and GFG. Now everyone processes things differently, right? When I showed you the rating chart of CodeChef, there might be people who have already solved 100 questions and are doing better than you, and you have already solved 300 questions. Still, the other guy is doing better than you. But you will see your changes once you cross the mark of, let's say, 500, and that guy has already still solved only 150 questions. Then you can always beat that guy with your hard work, with the number of questions that you have tackled. Now, talking about your interview preparations, now 80% of the population, what they do is that they combine their preparation likewise. Like the first 6 or 7 months, or let's say 1 year, they'll take up competitive coding and do competitive programming in any of these websites, let's say CodeChef or let's say Codeforces, and then they start doing GFG or LeetCode or any of these sites because they hold the very standard questions which you should be familiar with when you are sitting for any interview question. Now, I have seen many competitive coders who have very good rating, let's say on Codeforces, and have just neglected the part of their interview preparations, like say LeetCode or GFG. There are very few people I have come across who have made it through any big companies like these without even practicing on interview preparation sites. But but that holds a very low percentage. I've come across people who have worked their ass off on any of these interview preparation sites. They have solved almost 600 to 700 questions on GFG or let's say LeetCode, and they have aced their interviews. I've come across many people like that. But the most people who have cracked any of these companies or the interview rounds or the coding rounds are the ones who have first done a few, who have first participated in competitive coding websites earlier and then later moved to their interview preparation site. Now, talking about our interview preparation sites, let's open GFG. Okay. Now, how should you figure out that how should you start doing GFG? I've seen many people ask me that I have copied code earlier from GFG. I have taken reference from it, but I've never practiced on GFG. How to practice on GFG? Now, to start practicing on GFG, you should if you search on Google GFG topic wise. Okay, this is the practice.geeksforgeeks.org. Now, this section is very well organized when it comes to your interview preparation. You can sort your problems based on any data structure you like. Let's say you have your interviews in next month, or after 2 months, or after 3 months. Then you move to GFG. Let's say in your competitive coding world, if you have solved problems on trees and stacks or graphs, you have seen that the input method by which you have solved the problem on trees and graphs are very similar. Okay. So you have already solved problems on Codeforces related to trees and graphs, but when it comes to your interview preparation, the format of solving a problem of tree in interviews is very different from that of the competitive coding cultures. Like so let's say you want to practice your binary search tree question. So you select binary search tree questions, and you can solve questions sorted by difficulty, school level, basic level, easy, medium, hard. Now, if you are a competitive coder and you are then moving ahead with your interview preparations, you will not need to solve much problems over here, because you have covered most of them over here, and your basics are super strong. But if you are doing GFG or lead code, even if you have solved maximum problems over here, I'd say that you should keep solving problems when it comes to your interview preparations on any of these sites. So let's take an example. Okay, there are let's say two people. Let's say Max and let's say John. Now, Max is a competitive coder. He enjoyed competitive coding pretty much. He did let's say 1 year of competitive coding, and then moved to GFG and solved almost, let's say, 250 questions over there, which he felt the need to solve them. Now, what John did when John moved to solving problems on competitive coding websites, let's say CodeChef, he did not like the website of CodeChef. He moved to Codeforces. He did not even like solving problem here. But when he got familiar with the sites having interview preparations, he was very tempted, and he solved maximum questions on let's say GFG and LeetCode. Now, what happens? They are let's assume they belong from the same college, and they have cracked the coding round of Amazon India. Now, what happens is they both get a call on the same day. Now, when Max is thrown, let's say when John is thrown a question from the recruiter related to any of the topics, what his mentality or what his mind would race for an answer in the direction that he would start solving, he would start relating that problem with any of the problems he has solved earlier. Okay, like if you are, I guess anyone wants to say something. There are 9 comments on chat.
No, Indra, there's just one question which is about how much of DSA should I know before starting. Rest I have answered. They were not directly related at the moment. So
Okay.
you can actually just tell them that how should they, how much DSA, how should they start? Like, is it like they should first learn about the language, like you said, and then DS should be learned on the fly, or should they first focus on certain topics and then start solving?
Okay. So the questions that you are facing. See, if you want to sow a field, you first need to build your axe. Okay. So if you want to take up competitive coding, you must be at least familiar with any of these programming languages, because Otherwise, how will you code the solution now? So your first step should be, you should know your first language very well. One of the languages that you take up should be super strong. Let's say you take up C++, then you should study all the things in C++ first, like let's say STL and all, and simultaneously start doing competitive coding too. Like if you go to any question on Codeforces or CodeChef, let's say you are facing the first problem of a question code on CodeChef. Okay, that is you are facing your first problem on CodeChef. So the first problem on CodeChef or Codeforces is math based. I am very sure that you have solved much harder problems in your standard 9 level, 10th level, or 11th level, or 12th level exams. So you should programming language is just a tool that you should use to solve any problem. But simultaneously, let's say it is your first day or second day or maybe the third day you are learning any language, you should start solving problems on HackerRank. Now, what 80% of the coders do, that they start with the start with any language, and simultaneously they keep practicing on HackerRank. As I showed you that HackerRank is very well organized when it comes to language preparation and making you familiar with the syntax and all. Then then after you have some mastery in the language or on HackerRank, you should straight away move to competitive coding culture. And then when you are, let's say you are 2 months or let's say 4 months away from your interviews or your internship interviews, then you should move to any of these websites to prepare your interview preparations well. So this is the basic roadmap that any guy in first year, second year, third year follows in order to ace the ace the interview and be also very good at competitive coding. Because you see, after you get into your company, if it is related to CS and IT, these things that you catch up on competitive coding, it is not just about the ratings that you collect on these websites. It is about the knowledge that you gain, and that can be implemented in the future. You can build many great projects based on if your competitive coding is very strong. So this was the answer. Coming back to the hypothesis that John has only done GFG and LeetCode, and Max is familiar with both the cultures. Now let's say they have cracked the coding rounds of Amazon and they are called for the interview. Let's say recruiter throws a question to both of them, and what John does is his mind starts searching for any problem related to that problem, which he might have solved earlier during his preparation. But when it comes to Max, he is very confident about that because he is prepared for any question that is thrown at him, because he has been in the situation and he has participated in lot of contests, lot of real-time contests, and have already dealt this situation earlier. So the chances of Max getting higher is much more than that of John getting higher. So in my opinion, first, if you are very new to any language, first you should get familiar with the basic syntax, and you should know about what are the things that you should do when you are in a competitive coding career. And then you should straight away move to competitive coding websites. Any of these would work. In my opinion, Codeforces is a better one. I'll in the next section very soon. I'll show you why it is one of the best out of all these. And for interview preparations, I showed you that you can sort your problems based on your data structures and algorithm sections or difficulty. one of the very one of another great feature about GFG is that you can sort the questions based on companies. Okay, like let's say I have an interview in next week, which is of Amazon. So I'll start solving questions that Amazon has already asked his or her candidates earlier. So this is a very great platform. But you see, Geeks for Geeks, many of the times you will see that it fails to test the test case, test your code properly. Like let's say you are given a binary search tree problem, and you are told to first store it in a vector, and then rebuild that tree from scratch. Now, let's say I take the input from given to me, and I output the same tree. Geeks for Geeks is unable to detect that what the candidate has done. And also there are many a times there are compiler issues and all when it comes to Geeks for Geeks, because it is comparatively a new website. And if so for that you can always move to lead code, because the lead code has all the questions that are there on Geeks for Geeks, and also lead code has questions sorted in similar way. But you see, lead code has a feature that you can see likes on the problems of lead code. If it is a very disliked problem, then you should not solve that, because it mostly never comes in the interviews, or it is a very hard problem when it comes to your interview preparations, because you are heading to these sites not to solve problem but to prepare for interviews, right? If you want to be a prodigy on when it comes to competitive coding, be a red coder on Codeverse, master, grandmaster on Codeverse, or win any on-site competitions, then you should practice on any of these platforms. But if you are solely related to interview preparations, first you should take up competitive coding in any of these websites, and then move to interview preparation. Now the next section is so there are very many contests and hiring challenges that these technical giants conduct. One of which recently was conducted was CodeVita, which was conducted in our college too, which is hosted by TCS. Now, and the more recent one was Codagon, hosted by CodeNation. It was on InterviewBit. Also, Google organizes contests like Google Code Jam, and Facebook organizes Facebook Hacker Cup. Now, the contests organized by Google are one of the contests organized by Google is Google Kickstart. So I'll make you familiar with that. So this is the website of Google Kickstart. Okay. Now, if you go to schedule over here, now these are the rounds that took place in 2020. The past rounds were F, E, D, C, B, A. These rounds have already been completed, and likewise you get a rank. If you get a rank under 400 or let's say 300 in Google Kickstart simultaneously for 3 or 4 times, then you might get a call from Google that we have been tracking your performance on Kickstart, so we are organizing an interview with you. Now, the next thing is, when it comes to your competitive coding journey, you should know your Sure, most of you are familiar with Stack Overflow. When it comes to Stack Overflow, all the code snippets that you need, all the any query or any code snippet that you are confused about, you can clear your doubts on Stack Overflow. Now, also there is one website called StopStock, where which is a social media website or a tracking media website for every competitive coders. It keeps tracks of your performances in across all these websites. I guess AdQuoter was also introduced recently over here. Now, when I started my competitive coding journey, one of my friend recommended a book which I came across. Also, I saw that most of the people follow that book itself. I'll just show you the book that I have. Okay, so this is the book I was talking about, CP Handbooks. Also, a very good thing about that book about this book is that it mostly consists of algorithms. Also, some of the problems over here are solved in C++. So I guess at least 80% of the competitive coders will be very familiar with this book. Or even if you are not, it is a very good time to take this book up as your reference book. You can see the purpose of this book is to give you a thorough introduction to competitive programming. It is assumed that you already know the basics of programming, but no previous background in competitive programming is needed. That is, you are familiar with your language or let's say loops and if-else statements, but it has all the sections covered. So this was about how to figure out a head start in competitive coding, right? Okay, so if anyone has any question or wants to ask any question to me directly, can unmute himself or herself and ask me question for next 2 minutes, I guess. Okay, so I guess no one has any questions to ask.
What is the name of the book?
What is the name of the book? Right. It is CP Handbook by the author's name is by Antti Laaksonen.
Okay, thank you.
If anyone, Mehak, can you please write the name of the book in the chats?
Hello.
Yes.
Can you be a bit more specific about what topics should I cover before starting competitive programming in any of the language?
Okay, sure. So coming to the topics of any of the language, let's say you are just starting with your competitive coding, right? And the first thing that you learn about competitive coding across any world, when you go to HackerRank, the first question that is thrown at you are related to print statements like "Hello World," or the second one would be like if-else statements, or let's say for loop statements. Now, these are your basics when it comes to any language, implementing if-else statements, for loop statements and all. But when it comes to advanced topics, like let's say you are covering topics on covering advanced topics. Let's say you are able to solve the first primary questions of any of these platforms, and then you are very skeptical about what topic should I choose next. So in my opinion, firstly, build your basics very clear and be familiar with your language thoroughly, and your next step should be tackling the standard problems that are taught in your CSIT courses. Like, what do they teach you? Firstly, they teach you search. There are various styles of searching. Secondly, they teach you sorting and all. So these are very primary things which should be super strong. I'll give you a scenario. One of my friend went to interview for Code Nation. Now, and the problem thrown at him was related to segment tree. But in the meantime, he needed to sort the array also. It was a modified problem. So he needed to sort the array also. So the recruiter asked that how will you sort the array? So he said that I'll just use the sort function to sort the array. But he said that no, I'd like to see how you sort the array using any of the algorithms that you know. So you should be very, very strong when it comes to your basics. You should solve at least few questions, let's say as a merge sort or your binary search. These algorithms build your basics. You will find numerous number of questions when it comes to binary search. There can be very hard problems based on binary search and merge sort and all of these. Now, once you have covered all these up, these lie under your logical reasoning and your implementing your logical reasoning and how good you can implement a code. Your next step should be implementing recursions. Let me write that down for everyone. So firstly, you should build your basics. That is your loops and if else, and then you should be very familiar with your searching and sorting algorithms. Now, another perk of practicing on any of these platforms is that you are once you are trying to optimize your code and get it under the time limit given, you are able to figure out the time complexity of your code. When it comes to merge sort, it is n log n. You will be able to see through your code that how the n log n is the time complexity of your code. So next step should be your searching algorithms and your sorting algorithms. Searching and sorting. You should also be familiar how would you calculate your time complexity. Now once you are familiar with all of these, you should start practicing recursions. Then maybe you move to dynamic programming, or maybe you move to trees, or maybe you move to graph. So this should be your roadmap. But as soon as you start with your basics, you should start doing programming in any of these sites. So this is the path that one should follow. This is the path that I followed. I'm still practicing on my DP, trees, graph, recursions. This section of my of my coding career. If anyone has any more questions, can ask.
Can I ask something?
Yes, sure. Go ahead.
Regarding graphs, so personally, I find graphs very difficult, and like I understand the algorithms, but I cannot implement them. Can you please show a way, like suggest some way, so we can learn graphs more effectively, or can practice graph, because it's kind of I feel it very confusing and difficult.
Yes.
The graphs part.
I can relate to you. I find graphs very confusing myself. So when it comes to graphs, I would say you should not directly move to graphs. Like if you are practicing on any of these competitive coding sites and you are unable to solve questions related to graph, then you should be familiar with any of these sites and practice few questions on these sites. Because when you see GFG, most of the algorithms of graphs are related to BFS, DFS, or Dijkstra, or very basic standard questions you will find over here. So
Here that if you're starting with graphs, I'd say the best resource to begin is start solving the small problems on Geeks for Geeks. They have a very good path. Like that is what I had done when I was going to sit for an interview. So I had actually just gone through there. So you can start with Geeks for Geeks because they cover the very basics. And once you understand the basics, you can actually go further and explore more yourself.
And I would like to add one point. Yeah, with regards to graph, I have personally experienced that graph is basically in implementation point of view, we are using backtracking, linked list, and some concepts of array, vector and array. So if you are moving with graph, be sure that your this linked list and backtracking concepts are clear. It will be helpful in graph. I have personally found it out. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is a very good point raised by Neha. So I'd say when you are starting with graph, start with very basic questions of graph. Let's say you want to plan, you want to know how a DFS algorithm works. Now, I know starting with a DFS algorithm, you might take a while to process it. So we go through multiple resources, go through multiple videos, and make your DFS strong. Let's say it takes you 1 day or 2 day whole just to solve a DFS problem, a basic DFS problem. But once
Yeah,
you are,
exactly.
yes, it might take you 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, it might take you any range of time. But once you are familiar with one algorithm, you will be sure that any of the similar problem you are thrown at, where you need to implement DFS, you will be thorough with your concepts and you will be able to implement them. So first, when you cover the DFS, then maybe you move to your BFS or your Dijkastra. Now, if your objective is to solely crack interviews, then I'd say you should be familiar with I'd say these algorithms to the core, and then move to your to the questions as Mehak suggested. Move to questions of GFG. They have a very good platform, and their graph section is very well organized.
I have another question
Yes, yes.
regarding this. Suppose I have completed a topic, or I have just finished like understanding something. Suppose RB trees or only trees. Like so, after that, I go to directly solving competitive level code problems, or should I just solve basics from Geek for Geeks or from Lead Code? Like which platform should I choose just after like understanding or grasping a concept? Lead Code or CodeShare?
See, that depends on your objective. Okay, so if you are in your second years or third years and you have a lot of time in your hand, let's say you are going to face an interview in 1 month, then I'll not suggest that you should go and practice problems on these competitive coding culture. But if you have enough time, then always you should solve. Let's say you are familiar with any of the topics that you mentioned, then you can move to any of these competitive coding sites. But if when it comes to advanced data structures like one of the ones you mentioned, you should be familiar with both the styles, because in GFG you will find the input methods and the way you process a problem uh, is quite different than the way you would process it in any of these platforms. So if you have time, you should be familiar with both. Firstly, go solve questions on Geeks for Geeks. Uh, if you are able to solve questions on any of these sites, that is fair enough. But if you are unable to solve, go solve some problems on Geeks for Geeks, and then maybe come back to these platforms.
Instead of using Geek for Geeks, can I use Lead Code?
Yes, definitely. Because I myself find Lead Code a much friendlier
Yes,
website.
exactly. I also find Lead Code friendlier than Geek for Geeks.
Yes, right. Because many a times you will find that the compiler, you will some unknown compiler error will be raised, even if your code is right. Anyone else has any problem can ask.
Hello.
Hello.
I have completed, means I don't know much about data sections, DP trees, I don't know much about that, but I know basic things was recursion, and I have 4 stars in HackerRank. I practiced some problem. So if I move to CodeChef or Codeforces, what should be my first problem? Means where should I actually start? What
Okay.
should I
Okay.
start solving first?
Okay. What should be your first problem? I'll be explaining all these things, that how you should start when it comes to a website, uh, in my next section, where I'll log into my secondary account on Codeforces, and I'll show you how a beginner should process problems over there. So stay tuned. I'll be explaining that part very soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Anyone else has any question can prompt. Okay, I guess no one has any more problems. So we'll be moving to the next part of the session, where I'll let me just log into my secondary account of Code. So now I'll be participating in a round. This is my secondary account on Codeforces. If you want to follow me on Codeforces or CodeShare, I'll list the handle at the end of the session over here. So when you start your Codeforces journey, and so let me enter my credits first. So let's say I'm a new, this is my first time on Codeforces and I haven't solved any problem yet. So this is my personal favorite website, but I have seen people not liking Codeforces much because they term it that it has a bad UI. I'd not say it has a bad UI, it has a light UI, because this platform has a huge number of traffic. Now, my objective is to solve problems which I'll be able to solve. Okay, because if I'm unable to solve my first problem immediately, this site will not be helpful to me. So I'd go to the problem set where all the questions are listed over here. Now you can do one thing, that you can sort these problems according to the difficulty level. This is let's say I sort it over here. So this is sorted in decreasing order. Now let me sort it in increasing order. Now these are the problems listed on Codeforces, sorted in increasing order. So you'll find most of the problems over here have their first problem rated as 800 difficulty. So if you open any of these problems, these are very basic math problems, but it can be trickier because it needs a level of logical reasoning skills. When I started doing competitive programming on Codeforces, the first day I was able to solve 0 problems in my first contest. In the second day, I was still unable to solve a problem on a real-time contest. But after that, I researched that how do people start on Codeforces. There were many friends across various colleges who suggested me that I should move to this problem set area, sort this by difficulty, and my first goal on Codeforces is to be able to solve my first problem. Right? I'm currently at a level where I'm able to solve 0 problems on Codeforces. So I'll try my best to get to solving at least one question on a real-time contest. So I'll go here and I'll pick up questions of difficulty 800 and solve questions solve a humongous number of questions. Let's say I solved 30 questions on Codeforces and I'm still not able to do solve one question on Codeforces. Then I'll solve 70 questions on Codeforces, and I'm still not able to solve the question. Then I'll solve maybe, you say, 100 questions. Then I see that, okay, I'm now able to solve at least one question on every contest that I sit for. So I'll go here Now let's say you have already started solving in a real time contest, and you face difficulty in solving any one type of a problem. Let's say I am unable to solve related to brute force. So I'll select brute force and apply the filter over here. So these are all the problems related to brute force. But I don't want to practice problems which are very hard for me. So I'll set a filter that give me questions starting from 800 and within the range of, let's say, 1200. I want to solve this level of questions. So you will find many questions of every tag and every difficulty over here. So this is a very good platform where you want to brush up your skills related to your let's say in the first problem you will require logical reasoning and your math skills. So I'll add tags related to them and solve that many questions until I'm confident with myself that yes, now I'm able to solve questions related to these tags. And I guess I'll be able to solve most of the time related to this tag when it comes in a real-time contest. So this is how you should approach when you are starting with any of the competitive coding sites. But let's say you have not yet started with any competitive coding sites and you are still searching that which site should I take up. I'd say you should always take up Codeforces because in my opinion, if you are able to solve problems on Codeforces and you are very good over there, then you will definitely be able to ace any of the problems related to these platforms. So your goal is to solve, let's say you are unable to solve one question, then you move to solving one question per contest, solve two questions per contest, likewise. Now the contests held by Codeforces are primarily divided into three divisions. Firstly, there are Div 1 contests. These are not rated for the beginners. These are rated for people above the rating of 1999. And when it comes to Div 2, it is rated for everyone who are not excluding the Div 1 people. And Div 3 is rated for people below the rating of 1600. Sorry. So let's say it is my first day on Codeforces and I find that, and let's say I find this is one of the problems that I face, this is the contest that I'll be participating in. And I have let's say this is my first day on Codeforces and this is a future contest that I'm planning to participate in. Now, in order in your practice phase, you should solve any of the past contests via virtual participation. Now, this is a very unique feature that sets Codeforces apart from the other platforms. Like if you go to any of the Codeforces round, let's say I participate in a Codeforces round of Div 2. I will start my virtual participation over here. You will be able to register yourself in a given time. Let's say I register myself in 6/8, that is right now, and my contest starts. This is my first problem on this platform, and I give some and I first read the problem. Now, when you read a A-level problem, you will find that you just need to find the trick over here. That what is the problem asking for? You will be able to solve a problem if your logical reasoning skills, you are thorough with them. So this is my first problem. I'll go. Let's say I understood the problem and I figured out a way of solving it. I go to the submit code and I start solving the question problem in any of the language, and I select the submit button. So likewise, you can participate in any of the Codeforces problem contest virtually. Okay, so this is a very good example with a very good practice that you should take up in Codeforces. You can start first giving your virtual contest, give many virtual contests, and see that how you should figure out the problems. Now, talking about the problem, what should be your uh, real time what should be your real time analysis while solving a problem? Now here the test case says that there are only 500 test cases per file, and and even the value of n also ranges from 2 to 1000. So you can see that the time complexity, even if it is of on, it is of 1000. Even if it is of on square, it is of 10 to the power 6. Okay, and the time limit given to me is 1 second, which is fair enough if even if I apply a nested loop over here. So your goal is to be on the leaderboard as soon as possible. So you can apply a naive process tool in order to solve your question. Basically, the A-level question expect you to solve it as soon as possible, and you can apply any of the methods that pops up first in your mind. Now, while I am in a contest, and let's say I have solved this problem, and I move to the problem section, and I'm unable to figure out which question should I go first. Let's say I solved the problem A, and then I move to solving problem B, and I'm unable to figure out a solution to this problem. So what should be my next step? Your next step should be move to the problem section and see how many people have solved next question. Most of the people I find that who have solved A up till now is solving the problem B, and already there is one submission. Now this is too early for a contest to have some submissions. If you spend 10 to 15 minutes, then you will figure out most of the people have solved most of the questions over here. So if one problem is solved by most of the people, that is definitely a easier one than the one that is not solved by most of the people. So after solving problem A, you should and if you are unable to solve problem B, you should definitely check for the leaderboard and check the most amount of participants who have solved the next problem, and likewise process. And this is one of the methods that you can take up while in a contest. Also, you can visit the standings, and in your standings you can see your friend standing too. Let's say I move to the standing, okay, and I find that let's say I'm Roman, and Radel is above me. So it varies from person to person. Like in the start of the contest, I did not used to visit the standing section because it used to demotivate me, because I would always see that people are solving these many questions and I'm not able to solve that. But once you are familiar with this website and you are able to solve problems, then you will let's say Radal is my friend, and I find him above my leaderboard. So my goal will be to solve the next problem as soon as possible and to get ahead of him. So this was how you can participate in a virtual contest on Codeforces. And these are the blogs related to to anything on Codeforces. Basically, they are the blogs related to your next contest, which is going to happen, let's say, tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So this was how you participate in a contest. And if anyone has any questions right now, can unmute himself or herself and ask me.
Yes, I have a question actually.
Yes.
Regarding this. Hello?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. So my question is like, if I am like in a not in a beginner, but kind of I can solve beginner problems. So not
Okay.
in CodeChef, but in Codeforce or CodeChef, but in general, I'm saying. So
Okay.
what rating should I like opt for? Like 800 to 120, or what rating range should I be in?
Okay. Yeah, that is a valid question. See, when you start competitive coding as one of the things that you take up, so it is a sport, right? Like if you play a video game, when you play against when you win a level and you cross a level, obviously the dopamine release would set you apart that you should target the next level. There is no limit. That I have seen people in newbie level also do well in their interview rounds. I have seen people in pupil also do well in their preparation round. I have seen masters failing miserably in their interview rounds. So it does not matter that the rating is your track, that how better you get. Okay. So it might happen that you reach a level of let's say specialist or expert, and the next two contests that you give are somehow you perform miserably. You are unable to solve even one question or the next question or the any of the questions. So your graph is the one that matters. Okay. So your graph should be on a whole should be increasing, and your current rating does not matter because you can back it up anytime. Even if it falls, you can back it up in your next contest. Like I have seen people who have crossed the expert level and again started failing miserably in that contest and again moved back to pupil. Now this is a very common phenomena, and this is not the thing that should bother you. The ratings are obviously triggering you, and the ratings do obviously matter when it comes to a personal level. But no one, when it comes to any of the companies from Amazon or Google, sees that okay, you are an expert level, so you must be better than the one in specialist. So it is not like that. It does not work like that. uh, Maybe if you are a full-time competitive coder, then then the credits in your CV matters, that you have been doing problems in the past. You have solved 1000 questions, or let's say 500 questions on any of the cross-platform uh, cultures. That is the thing that matters. It is your graph that matters, and not your current rating. It might drop, it might you might climb hilltop, but what matters is your consistency. Even if you fail, you must not give it up. Your rating should not affect you in such a way that you end up giving up on competitive coding and move to development section. If you are good at competitive coding and you are passionate about it, keep that in you, that yes, you should not have self doubt that the ratings are the things that judge me, because it is you in the past who has secured a higher rank, and it is still you in the past who have secured a lower rank. It does not symbolize how well you are in your competitive coding. It matters that your consistency is the thing that matters, and you should keep it within yourself, that you should keep learning new algorithms. You should keep learning more data structures if you want to progress in any of these sites.
Actually, I was also asking that what kind of like beginner, if I am targeting, suppose linked list I have just completed right now, or binary trees.
Hmm.
So which range, like I have to choose problems between 800 to 1200, like which preferably range should be like for beginner level, like questions I'm asking, like for
Okay.
sorting the questions, like you showed
Okay.
earlier.
Okay. So if you say linked list and binary search tree, you will not find problems that are structured in a way that you should solve them as linked list and binary search tree in any of these competitive coding websites. Okay. Like if I show you, let me just show you. If I move to, let's say, trees. Okay. These are the problems related to tree, and maybe select this problem out of this. Now you see what is the input format. It is similar to a graph, right? these are the nodes. This is the first node and this is the second node. The tree is a directed graph, so this is the first node and this is the second node. You can with your programming skills optimize your code or alter your code in such a way that it works just fine in order to pass the test cases. But when it comes to your tree and your interview preparations, they will see your code and they will judge you by the quality of code you write. Like, let me just open Geeks for Geeks trees section. You'll just find the difference over here. This is the tree section, and let's say I take up any of height of binary tree. Now, how is this problem organized over here? You are already told that there is a structure defined of a node. It has a value data, it has a left child, it has a right child. So you should produce a code related to this structure. If you are not using this structure and you are store it in maybe vector and you are producing the output, now that is a very bad code and the interview will right away reject it over there. So when it comes to advanced data structure, you should be familiar with Geeks for Geeks and LeetCode, and Geeks for Geeks or LeetCode, and also if you are able to solve these problems on competitive coding platforms, that is very well, because you are thorough with your basics of these data structures. So if you want to solve questions on code forces related to trees, I would say this is the tree section. First, startup questions which are let's say I sort it in increasing order by the difficulty. Now these are problems related to trees in increasing order. The first two problems over here are rated 900, then 1200. Most of the problems you will find on Codeforces are above the difficulty of 1500. So this is the pathway you follow. If you see that you are very much comfortable solving the 300 rated difficulty problem, then you straight away move to 1400. And if you are still comfortable, move to 1500, solve a few. Maybe if you are still comfortable, increase your level and move to 1600. So likewise, you should start your journey with related to any data structures you want to get familiar with.
Okay, Indra, there's a question in the chat by Dheeraj Kumar.
Yes.
He asked how to manage time, because it's taking a lot of time in beginner problems on CodeChef, and he has just started now.
Okay, if you have just started now, you should know that this is the longest phase in your competitive coding career. When I started in doing competitive coding on Codeforces in May or June, I failed miserably. As I told, I was unable to solve a single problem or maybe one problem. See, the time matters. If you want to manage your time, let's say you are just starting on Codeforces. Now, let's say I want to solve my first question on Codeforces in my next contest. So I apply the filter that give me questions in the difficulty level of 800. So I select my first problem. Now I'm scratching my head. Your practice should not be such that you are continuously very adamant on solving that problem on your own. If you are starting right now, think for the problem for 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes, or maybe if you are very adamant, let's say you are trying to solve the problem for 20 minutes and still cannot figure out a valid solution, or if you submit and the test cases do not pass. Now, what should be your next motion? Your next move should be go to this tutorial section of every problem on Codeforces has a tutorial section. Go to the tutorial section. You will find the editorial of that corresponding question contest. So this is the problem that you were facing. Look for start reading the tutorial. As soon as you're reading the tutorial, maybe you say, let's say you are halfway through your tutorial and then suddenly the solution strikes in your mind. You straight away move back to your problem, solve it, code it, submit it. If it gets accepted, well and good. And if not, then come back to the tutorial. Read the tutorial once again fully. Try to understand the tutorial. Maybe write it in pen and paper. And then if you are confident with a solution, then again submit your solution. And if still you are unable to solve the question, go to the solution section. You will find the valid code over here, which is solved in Python or C, C++, and then resubmit the solution to your problem and move directly to the next problem. So the starting phase of competitive programming is the longest. You will be frustrated that why am I not able to solve a single problem after so many days. But you see, after you solve 100 problems maybe in Codeforces, you should have a mark in your mind that if I solve 150 questions, then definitely I'll be able to solve at least one question in a real-time contest. And if you are unable to solve B problems, then move to this problem set, and then again start solving problems with higher difficulty. So always know that the starting phase is the longest. Once you are good with and have already figured out your way through competitive coding, then it is comparatively a easier route, because you are confident enough to sit for any contest. But your first phase will be the longest. You should not worry that my time is wasted. You will see the result one day, very soon, or maybe it will take time, but when you see it, it will be worthwhile.
Okay, just one question. I have a little one, like
Yes.
beginners now. Which
Yes.
coding contest should we target? Like, suppose I'm starting from just hypothetically, I'm starting from today. Like, which near about contest should I target?
Okay. So okay. So as you said that you have already some experience in competitive coding. If you have some experience in competitive coding, I'd say that you should start solving problems on Codeforces. And if you find the site not really helpful to you at this very moment, you should go to maybe go to CodeChef. And if you are still not able to figure out solutions, then I would say move to AdCoder. Now, AdCoder.jp is a Japanese website which organizes contests in 3 formats. One of the formats is the beginner level contest, where people with 0 ratings participate mostly. And if you are able to solve questions on HackerRank in one shot, let's say, you will be able to solve questions on AdCoder. So it depends on what amount of experience have you had, what is your logical reasoning skills that you have built till now. But let's say if you are unable to solve a problem on Codeforces and you keep switching from one platform to another platform and you still cannot figure out a start, then that is not the way, right? You should be adamant that yes, maybe not today, but in the future, if I practice, I will be able to solve the question. So if you move to Codeforces, give it a try enough to that you devote at least 1 or 2 weeks dedicatedly to that particular site. And still, if you're not able to solve, then you can move to any other platform. And when it comes to Codeforces, you can go to the contest. Like I said, Div3 is the easiest level contest that it hosts. So you can solve any problem. You can solve problems. Go to past contests and solve Div3 contests. Sit for Div3 contests and get a taste of it, and then maybe take part in real-time contests. Okay, so anyone else has any question can ask me, or else we have reached the end of our session.
Hello.
Hello.
I had a question. So if I'm starting, I am also a beginner right now. So there are classes also going on in college and other stuff also. So what should be my target? That I mean, how much hours should I spend every day at least to become decent in competitive coding?
Okay. As I said, that varies from person to person. Okay. If you are in your first year, second years, or third years, you can attend the classes in college, and then maybe sit for the contest in the later hours. Like you, like see, if you are a beginner, you have to devote the maximum amount of time if you are starting something new. Let's say you want to learn guitar at the starting. First, you need to get familiar with the guitar, and you need to practice the guitar most of the times. But once you are familiar with it, you can devote less hours. So if you are a beginner and you are starting with your competitive coding journey, I'd say after your college hours, you devote maximum time possible. And when it comes to weekends, you can devote half of the day, maybe solve maximum questions you can. You should always have a target in your mind that okay, these are the weekdays I'm unable to figure out that when should I sit, and I have very minimal hours left with me that I can devote to competitive coding. Maybe your target starts with on day one, your target is two problems. Then you find that okay, the next week I have very few classes in my college, so I'll devote maximum amount of time on code courses. So I'll solve eight questions or 10 questions. So this is not a thing that this is not a course that you take up, or a book that you're reading, that you need to devote these many hours. You just need to solve these many questions, and need to solve the right questions, as I showed you earlier. So your hours do not matter. What matters is the questions that you solve. On days when you have heavy workload, maybe solve one question or two questions. On the days you are very much free and you have planned to devote yourself on competitive coding, then you can solve 10 questions on that day, or maybe 15, 20 as your time permits. But remember that the starting phase is the longest one, and it is the most hardest one, and that is the main phase where people quit their journey in the starting only and move to the development field or anything.
No.
Hello.
What should we do? The development or the competitive coding in the beginning level?
See, if you are in your first years or second years, I guess if you haven't figured out that what you should
Second
do,
year.
you are in your second year. So it matters that what interests you. Okay, I suggest have a taste of everything. Have a taste from consult your seniors, consult what are the projects that others are building. If the development side is the one that interests you the most, then take up and go to the development section. Okay, that is what happened with me also. I had taken up Java in my 9th and 10th. I was familiar with the languages, and still I did not take up competitive coding in my first years and second years, because I was very much motivated to build ML projects or learn deep learning and all. I built a few projects, and during the start of this lockdown, I had something in mind that at the end of the day, you would have to come back to coding. Even if you do development. Now, when you comes to cracking interviews and all, getting into MNCs, there are always two paths that you can take up: building your competitive coding strong, or building your development field strong. You just need to fill a bar that is 100%. Okay, let's say your development field is you are very good at in your development skills, and let's say you fill the bar 80% with your development skills. Now the rest of the 20% bar have to be filled with your competitive coding journey, because any round you sit for hosted by any of the companies you go, their first screening test may be of apti or the coding round itself. And even when you approach for the interviews, the recruiter will obviously ask you a data success and algorithms question. So if you are very much interested in your development field, maybe you are very much passionate about your development field, then you can only practice codings on any of these websites when during your interview times, or you would be sitting for an interview. But every CSIT student or any other student who want to get into CSIT core companies, then they would have to have a taste of coding, because that is the main screening round every engineer pursuing a job has to go through. Now another alternative is that you can be active on HackerEarth, or some of the websites are also there, like D2C and all. These websites hold hackathons where you can participate and build projects with your team, or maybe individual. These hackathons often offer you, if you are a winner of that hackathon, often offer you with an internship or a full-time job offer. Like some of the friends of mine got into Dell via a hackathon hosted on HackerEarth. So these are the roadmap that you should follow, but you should know that you will always have to fill the bar of 100% mixed with your coding skills and your development skills. And if you are still a beginner and you're figuring out, you should ask your seniors or get a taste of everything that you want to try, and then maybe figure out that what is the thing that you want to highlight on your CV or your resume.
Hello.
Hello.
Just a small request from you. Can I see a rating chart in your main account so that I can actually
Okay.
compare myself, so that how much time should it take to reach a certain level?
Okay, sure. See, when it comes to Codeforces, my primary account is this. You can note these things down. And this is I log in with the same ID on CodeChef too. @coder, I don't remember my ID because I have given only one contest, that too, so I'll not be sharing that. When it comes to GFC, it is so these are my primary accounts. As I said, I have another account on Codeforces which I rarely participate with. I only go there to, I don't know, do what.
Hello.
Yes.
You are from electrical, right?
No, I'm from IT.
Okay, sorry. Means I was going to ask that I am from EC, so I have to manage core studies and.
Yeah, me too.
That's the question, that how to manage also.
I would like to add something here. If you're from EC, but this time, as Indra mentioned, that CodeVita happened. So there were people from EC who got selected too. Like obviously, the maximum number was from IT and CSC, but there were people from EC who got selected. So branch doesn't really matter.
See, the branch really doesn't matter, because one of my friends is from another college and he's pursuing environmental studies, okay, and he has taken up coding and he's doing very well over there. So actually the branch doesn't matter. If you have it in you, you will be able to crack any of the interviews or coding rounds of any company. If anyone has any other query, can ask, or else we have reached the end of this session.
Then if we have any like current questions, like runtime questions we have regarding CP, then where should we ask? Should we ask in that Discord only? kind of.
Yes, you can always contact me on Discord, or you can contact us on the CC channel, where me along with Jagrit and Aniket and Vivek, we will be answering your questions. We will also be hosting sessions related to various topics and related to anything on competitive coding. This chapter will be very active in this season.